All right, you've heard me talking about it for a month now and much longer than that. The next and final 90-day program begins October 4th, final of this year. There won't be another one until March. Come join me at drkylieburton.com/90-day-programs. Now, this episode is a particularly special one as I teach you the entire CBC and tell you a little bit more about this 90-day program. And remember, this podcast is sponsored by my favorite supplement companies, Systemic Formulas and My Biome. Come join me inside their private Facebook group for practitioners called Systemic Formulas Clinical Nutrition. Now with this episode, you're going to want to pause, grab some notepad and a paper and a pen, take notes, because I'm going to teach you the entire CBC from start to finish. Welcome to the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast with me, your host, Dr. Kylie. This is a sneak peek into our last workshop on the CBC, the complete blood cell count. Jump inside and learn what you might have missed, but now you're not missing it anymore. And let's keep our momentum going by joining me inside the 90-day program, October 4th. All right, here we go. All right, welcome to the CBC, the complete blood cell count, which is the most powerful lab, in my opinion. The lab worth the price of gold, if you know how to read it right. So next question for the chat box. We have people coming in from all over the country and outside of the US. I am here in Utah. It is 12 p.m. my time, noon my time. So get in that chat box. Let me know if you have ever read blood work before. Just regular standard blood work that doctors take on everybody. Paula says, yes. I know there's more than Paula in there. There we go. Now we're getting the chat box. Sam, yes. Tina, yes. Claudia, yes. Gail, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Stacy, yes. Okay. I know I'm going to share with you something unique today. Because the way I read the CBC is completely different than a lot of people, unless you've been around me for a while. And I know there's a few people in here who are in my 90-day program and soon to be in the mastermind, and we're just rocking and rolling. So here is the CBC. Now, this is all going to be recorded, so you can go back and listen to it. But you can take notes if you want as well. So because you guys are smart and you are the practitioners, I like to bring in my secret template that just makes it so super easy for us to learn this valuable lab test. Now, when you think about a CBC, what do you think about? Shoot me in the chat box. What do you think about when you think CBC, red blood cell count, hematocrit, hemoglobin, WBC, all the good stuff? What do you think about? No one thinks about anything? Inflammation markers, white blood cell counts, yes. All right, well then I'll just teach you. There we go, inflammation, etc., etc. Yep. Okay, to make our life easier, we're gonna focus first and foremost on these red blood cell counts. So we have the red blood cell count, we have the hemoglobin, the hematocrit, the mean corpuscular volume. I can't remember what MCH is for or MCHC, but they're mean corpuscular, maybe mean corpuscular hemoglobin, mean core or something like that. I'm just so used to saying MCH and MCHC. So all 6 of these markers are all about red blood cells. Okay. So based off of this range, now this range is not mine. These ranges are Dr. Datis Karazian's. He's a guy with 1.5 million letters next to his name. Someone had to do the research and come up with these ranges, and he did it around 25, 30 years ago. We've been using them ever since. I have tweaked some of them a bit based off my experience and the thousands and thousands of labs I've seen with the patient scenarios. But as far as red blood cell counts, these don't change. So if you see anything low within any of those ranges, you're going to think iron. Okay.
red blood cell count, all the way down to MCHC. All 6 of these markers, if any of them are low, indicate a need for iron. Now, as we're going along here, and you have a question, pop it in the chat box. I'll go back and look at the questions, but I wanted to teach and stay in my flow before we jump into questions. So if you have questions, get in the chat box, or down at the bottom of your screen, you can see where there's a spot that says reactions. If you click on that, you can actually raise your hand and we can bring you in and ask you can ask your question at the end here. So low, we're going to need iron for all 6 of these. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to iron with the low status, and then what I'm going to tell you with the high status in just a second, but this is not definitive. And I will go to battles with doctors who are like, well, there was no need to run an iron panel because the CBC didn't tell me anything to do it. One, they're using the wrong ranges because they're using the normal ranges, not these condensed functional ranges. And 2, the CBC lies, especially when it comes to iron and then the B vitamin status. But specifically this iron status, I have seen numerous iron panels, hundreds of iron panels that show deficiency or they show cellular problems where the CBC was quote unquote, good. So what my recommendation is when you get to working with patients and get on social media, especially, the most common question you're going to get asked is, what labs should I ask my doctor to run? If you go to my TikTok page, you can pin 3 videos at the top. That is one of the videos pinned at the top. These are the tests you should ask your doctor to run. The iron panel is one of those lab tests. Get it in addition to the full CBC with differential. Okay, so as you get these questions from social media and from friends and family and patients, especially if you already have a following and you start saying, hey, bring in your blood work, I'd like to see your blood work. And they're like, well, what test should I ask my doctor for? Tell them, be sure they get the iron panel. Okay, that's that. Give me a thumbs up. How are we on the low iron status? Good, okay. Now this low iron status, let's focus on what iron is good for in the body real quick. Iron is required to take oxygen to every single cell in the body. So if they have low iron status in any way, shape, or form, you got to get iron in the body first. Here's what I do first. Always first focus on diet. And I like to play with this a little bit. Hey, you want to eat some liver? No, I don't want to eat liver. Who does? Oh, good. I want you eating red meat then. As long as red meat's okay for you, eat a lot of it. And then they'll say, well, how many times do you want me to eat a week? And I usually go like 4 or 5. If you can eat red meat every day for a little while, great. And of course, you can get into your dark leafy greens, but red meat is the best source of it. Beef. But when it comes to iron treatment, then I like to add in some supplementation. And the 2 sources I like best are Hemivite Plus. This is an Apex Energetics supplement. And then the other one is Pharaoh Food. And this is a standard process. So you can simply add those in. I prefer to go with this one because when you add in iron supplementation, it can be harsh on the GI tract. The Hemivite Plus is designed to not be so harsh. Okay, and then the next step is IV therapy. There are clinics scattered around that do IV therapy. You can also do IV therapy through insurance, not the friendliest route to go. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, but you can do it if they're really in need for it. And of course, like I said, always get that iron panel. Okay, we good on iron therapy? And that is what I'm going to do in the first step. I'm going to make sure in my treatment plans that iron status is good. great, actually, not just good. I want it great. And then the body can start healing when they can get oxygen to all the cells. And you can explain it just like that to your people. Okay. The MCHC, mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. Yes, that's. Thanks, Margaret. Iron, when it comes to anemias, now that's going to be like actually falling outside of the normal range. I just call it iron deficiencies if it falls outside of this range. Now, here's the clinical pearl. Anything that's high in any of this stuff is going to be B vitamins. Now, this is, most people will say, well, they need to eat more B vitamins. I don't necessarily agree with that. People consume B vitamins in very high amounts naturally. What they need is they need help metabolizing this, okay? So the way I explain this to patients is the B vitamins that you eat is not the form that your body needs them in. It has to go through this process called methylation. All that means is that you're going to eat B vitamins. Your body needs to convert them into the usable form of B vitamins. And that's what we're seeing right here is B vitamin methylation. And then the supplement I use for that is a supplement called MORS, MORS, from Systemic Formulas. That's my primary supplement carrier, is Systemic Formulas. MORS is such a hot commodity. It's been out of stock for a little while now. Praying it gets back in. But I tell people, like, yeah, you can take your methylated B vitamins, but let's get you more so that your body has the ingredients it needs to take the B vitamins you're already eating and use them more efficiently. Okay, and that's with all of these. This one, all 6 of these, is if they're high outside of this range, think B vitamins. Okay. Now, clinical pearl number 5 trillion. You're going to see combinations of this. You're going to see some markers that are like here on a 45-year-old female, she's like a 13.1. This one's going to be 42. This one's going to be 91. This one's going to be 26.8. And this one will be, you hardly ever see that one out. Or you could also have like, so you're going to have combinations of elevated, combinations of normal, combinations of low. The more you have outside of the range in one direction, the worse the problem is. Now, I will almost always give, if there's any indication of low iron, I will almost always include Hemivite Plus, and I will add that to MORS. But MORS is usually always in my first part of the program. I just want to make sure they're using their B vitamins efficiently. So just know that you'll see lots and lots of combinations of these. Some are low, some are high, some are in the normal range. When you start getting multiple lab tests, like say from one individual, you have 4 different labs. I love that because you have a really good description here and you'll see a whole bunch of things in all 4 of them, which is awesome. So when people ask you, well, how many labs do you want to see? You say, I want to see them all. If you were sick 10 years, I want to see labs from 10 years ago. So you'll just see combinations of things like that. So I'll include iron, I'll include MORS, I'll include, yeah, that for the red blood cell stuff. How are we? Give me a thumbs up. All right, let's look in the chat box before we continue on. What are the health implications of high iron? High iron would be called hemochromatosis. There is, Jacqueline and everybody else, on my podcast, I think it was last week, Christy, what's her last name? Sutton. Christy Sutton came on and did a podcast episode, and it was all about hemochromatosis and iron. I think it released last week, or maybe the week before that. That would be my go-to, is really pay attention to that, because she outlines like the highs and lows and things like that. But I don't want to get quite into an iron panel within this call right here. But she would be a great resource inside that podcast episode. And then indications of high iron, definitely get an iron panel. Because then if it is hemochromatosis, really the only way to take care of that, as far as I'm aware of, are blood transfusions. So if that's a route, they'll need to be underneath their primary care doc for help with that as well. And then Christy, the reason why she's so passionate about it is because she had to diagnose her own husband with it. Nobody was listening to her. And finally, she called it out. Christy Sutton is her name. That's on my podcast, Beyond the Diagnosis. It just went last week. Okay. We talk about diagnosing anemia versus low iron, the ranges and the qualifications of anemia. Yes, Shauna, when it comes to these ranges that I'm showing you right here, these are the functional ranges. So this is going to be just an iron deficiency. An iron anemia will come with so say you get the lab range, and the lab range, I don't even know what lab ranges are because I don't even pay attention to them, but say it's like 3.5 to 5.5 on this marker right there. And the iron status is like 2.6. That would be a big time problem. You're most likely going to indicate or diagnose an iron anemia based off of an iron panel. What doctors mostly use this for when it comes to iron is, do I need to run an iron panel or not? To me, there's no question. Run the dang panel. Check the box. It's not hard. Just check the box and then use the iron panel to indicate, holy molies, we really do have low serum iron. We have low ferritin, iron storage forms. We have the TIBC is really up there, meaning that we have low iron as well. So use the iron panel as more of a diagnosis. This is more of a deficiency. Does that help, Shauna? If I did get iron ran, what are the ranges and are you going to discuss it? Rochelle, not on this call, because I don't want to dive into the iron panel. There's a pattern in there, but if you're in the 90-day program, so grab the iron tutorial inside the portal. There we go. Okay. All right. There's iron. There's B vitamins. Again, Moore's is my go-to as far as supplementation. All right, guys, that's the boring stuff when it comes to the CBC. This is the funnest stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, when we get into these infection parts, talk about this all over social media. Talk about this with your current patients. Blast it out in your newsletter. Blast it out in your, put flyers around your office, wherever you have your current clientele, wherever you're talking to your people. Briefly mention the neutrophils and how it can indicate fibromyalgia. Briefly mention the lymphocytes and how it can indicate virus and chronic fatigue. So this is the fun stuff. Now I'm going to use my whiteboard for this. But first, get in that chat box and let me know who wants to learn about infections. We got to keep you guys getting in that chat box and interacting and experiencing this with each other, because we're all in this together. The more we can all learn this, the more we can all help our patients with blood work they already have. And these numbers are international. Very rarely do I see issues with these ranges. Jacqueline, I know you're in Israel, so remind me before we jump off this section with the CBC to teach you how to convert the absolute values into the percentage values. And if any of you are in Canada, you're most likely going to see the absolute values over the percentage markers as well. So, okay, now I want to caveat this too. I highly, 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 highly recommend you take like 2 or 3 of these infection markers and you create a workshop out of it. You can host it right there live in your clinic, invite your current clientele to come in and see what their blood work really can tell them. You can blast it on social media. You can do exactly what I'm doing right here for your patients on the Zoom feed. So this is like the best way to bring your patients, more people to you, especially if you want to go virtual. You can hit this big, but you gotta learn it first. So let me teach it to you. Now these 5 markers, 5 of them, are within what we call the differential. So you might see a CBC only, and there's not these 5 markers in there. And when I see that, I want to cuss. I want to scream. These 5 markers you need to have. So make sure it's in the CB you order, and patients are getting ordered the CBC with differential. With diff is what they call it. Okay. So we have at the very top, we have the white blood cell count. That range, the functional range, is going to be between 5 and 8. Anything less than 5 or greater than 8 is an infection. I used to say chronic infections. I used to say acute infections. I don't anymore, just because it's another thing the patient has to worry about or someone has to learn. Just call it infections and make it simple for everybody. Then we're going to get down. Oh, and by the way, before we jump off the white blood cell count, this is not definitive. You will see a white blood cell count that's like 5.8. And you'll get down into the differential, and it is beautiful, in my words. When the differential is off, it is beautiful. When it's perfect, it's like, oh, dang. So always, always, always look into the differential markers, even if that's a pretty number. It's not definitive, okay? So we have these 5 markers called neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. If I were to do a workshop, which I would highly recommend you guys doing, or simple Facebook posts or social media posts, focus on these 3, okay? Those are the 3 markers you'll want to focus on when you teach. Or if you have someone asking you about parasites, since that seems to be a pretty hot topic, you can talk about those 2 markers. Like, hey, are parasites really a concern for you? Go grab your blood work. It has an answer. You can know right now, okay? So the neutrophil count, this guy's magic number is 60%. You want to see him at 60% or less, unless there is the pattern, which I'll teach you in a few minutes. If it's above 60%, we're fighting a bacterial infection. Now, this is not something that's going to test positive. So you're not going to, tell your patients, tell people on social media, don't run to your doctor and say, hey, I learned this off of a podcast episode, or I learned this from a social media post that I have a bacterial infection. Can you test me for H. pylori or C. diff or Campylobacter or E. coli or whatever the heck they want to call it? Unless they have major gut problems, like they have to run to the bathroom 10 times a day, those tests are going to come back negative. Thank heavens. No one wants to be in that situation with those bacterial strains. These are called low bacterial strains. This can be a replacement for your SIBO tests. This can be a replacement for your SIBO tests with fungal. Bacterial infections look like chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, fibromyalgia, chronic joint pain, indigestion. I even saw the worst bacterial infection I ever saw was frozen shoulder syndrome. It was crazy. I talk about this in the chapter of my book, but she had this like 88% bacterial infection, and the way it showed up was that her joints in her shoulder became so stiff, and then it started becoming systemic. So anything systemic, think infections, and then figure out what type of infection it is. So if you're like a chiropractor working with low back pain, check into their blood work, because you might have some better results when you tackle the bacterial infection too, especially rheumatoid arthritis, when you're talking all sorts of joint pains like that. But this one blood work marker can replace the $250 breath test for SIBO. Same results. Okay. Now I put CFO with the fungal component because anytime I see a bacterial infection, I'm always going to treat fungal at the same time. So bacterial infections, fungal infections, they go hand in hand. There's no way to determine a fungal infection based off this. But because there are co-infections and they are so popular, very rarely will you just treat one infection. 95% of the time, you're going to treat multiple. So bacterial, just know in your mind, fungal. Okay. Now, what do I do for that? like I said, my favorite supplement line is Systemic Formulas. So they have 2 supplements called Bactrex, which is fighting bacterial, and then FungDX, which is fighting the fungal component. They have capsule and liquid form. So if someone doesn't want to digest or have to swallow pills, you can take the liquid form and topically apply it over their small intestine where that bacterial infection tends to sit. Okay. Are we good with neutrophils? If it's above 60%, we're thinking bacterial, we're thinking fungal. Now the lymphocytes, this magic number is 30%. If you see a number above 30%, we're gonna think virus. No, this is not a COVID test. There are thousands of viruses out there. This is just going to tell us that, hey, our body's fighting some bad viruses or virus. I can't tell you what, I can't tell you how many, but it's there. This is the number 1 cause of thyroid issues. This is the number 1 cause of chronic fatigue. So you can get on social media or you can tell your patients, hey, I know you're working with your doctor on your thyroid. Have you ever thought about maybe a virus being what's causing your thyroid problems? Maybe next time you come in, bring your blood work with you. I just want to show you something cool. Now you've opened up the doors to a chiropractic patient or even a massage therapist patient, or natural, like whatever you're doing hands-on wise, acupuncture even, to helping them out with their from a functional medicine perspective. So if it's above 30%, we're thinking virus. My go-to for that is a supplement called Vivi, VIVI. I always want to make sure that their vitamin D status is fantastic, like it's above 80. So I typically pair vitamin D and DV3 with Vivi because, of course, the immune system definitely needs it. Now, viruses come and go. Bacterial infections can show up in the blood work 6 months ago, and then 6 years ago in the same patient, it's not there. That's why I love to have multiple sets of labs. When you see, say one time in a patient, you see the virus number is at 42%, then next time they went and took blood work, it was at 31%. So then you say to them, you know what, on that day that you took this lab test, I bet you felt like crap. I bet you had one of those worst days that you had to take a nap in order to survive. But on this day when you took the lab test, that's probably one of your good days. You're able to get some house cleaning done and do the dishes and then cook dinner for everybody and then go to bed at a normal time. Yeah, how do you know that? Right here in the numbers. Okay, so this is what these numbers are looking like as far as a patient is concerned. So you can correlate the numbers with the clinical aspect. I'm big on that. This is making sense, guys? Okay, now the monocytes, the magic number is 7%. And this is going to be for a virus as well. So anything above 7%, think virus. Now there's going to be times where you have a monocyte count at like 14% and a lymphocyte count at 28%. So one shows, one doesn't. Treat the virus. Same way, Vivi, high dose vitamin D, support the immune system. Okay, Vivi is just an antiviral as far as that's concerned. Now, monocytes can be a little bit fun because I like to say if they're above 11%, there's a high possibility that the Epstein-Barr virus test or mono will come back positive if they were to take it. Does that happen all the time? No, but it's a lot of the time. And if they do have a positive Epstein-Barr virus test or they get told that they have mono, you and I both know that the doctor says, oh, okay, go sleep for 3 months, best of luck. You get to do more support than that. If they say they had mono when they were in college and they're, a 35-year-old mom now with 2 kids and they're still fighting this fatigue, they just know that something's not right. Boom, it's this virus coming back. And this guy is going to be one of their best friends, as well as having their vitamin D status up above 80. Because when they feel like that fatigue coming on, they know, okay, the virus is coming back. Make sure my immune system's good. Make sure I have some antiviral on my shelf. Okay. Next up, we have the eosinophil count. Eosinophils, the magic number is 3. So 3%. Basophils are 1% is the magic number. Both can indicate food allergies, environmental allergies, or what I like to call parasites. So if you have a person who's done every elimination diet under the sun, they're eating rice and chicken and barely surviving, the eosinophil counts at 5.5% parasites. And this one isn't, as far as treatment is concerned, isn't quite like a simple, just telling you what it is, but there are options. So we have Cellcore is primarily, this is all they do, parasite stuff. And then through systemic formulas, it's the VRM. So the VRMs 1 through 4 would be the treatment, depending on the route. Now people will say, oh my gosh, where the heck are parasites even located in my body? Don't know. Parasites are very, very sneaky. They're very good at living and surviving, but they're also not bad either. Not all of them are bad. I don't know if Dan's on this call, but Dan is, he'll be on my podcast in a couple of weeks here, I think, maybe sometime this month. And he talks about are parasites a good thing. So it's above 3%, above 1%, I think parasites, if they've ruled out the possibility of food allergies and environmental allergies. Most important, food allergies. So you know the patient who's done the anti-inflammatory diet, they've done keto, they've tried all the diets. Okay, let's not try a diet anymore. Let's tackle parasites. And that is the 5 most important markers inside the CBC, inside all of the blood work. So before we continue on, let me get back into the chat box and answer some questions. So Paula, come join me.
Question on drainers. Do you use any drainers for like Bactrex and FungDX, like ACP, ACX, Bind, any of that?
I use Bind. Mm-hmm.
Bind, okay.
Yeah. And then I also use WO oil. The Chinese, I just say it's Chinese medicine cabinet in a bottle. Now I like to put that on the bottoms of their feet, but it's oil, so you can topically put it anywhere. You can put it over their gut. You can put it wherever they deem fit. I just say the bottoms of the feet because it's the biggest pores in the body. But since you are working on more of a gut thing, you could easily rub it topically over the gut. When starting the support phase, will you be carrying the Hemivite Plus and Mors and vitamin D throughout the entire program? Yes, Stephen, if they need it. Mm-hmm. I've had people love Hemivite Plus. Now, I will only include it in a standard care program for like 3 months, but then when you get off of it, they need more. Like they'll ask you, I like that Mors. I like that Hemivite Plus. Give me some more of that stuff, please. So pull it away from them, and then they'll ask for it again, knowing that the stuff works. So good question. Paula, does that help? Yeah. And then I know Cellcore is really big into, drainage type things. So they have their Lymphactive I've used on occasion. And I think Systemic Formulas version of it is Seng, S-E-N-G. But from the starting line, when I do bacterial and fungal components, I use Bactrex, FungDX, Bind, and W oil. Oh, oil, that's my 4 go-to things. Yes, Connie loves Hemivite Plus as well. If mono was 10 and if monocytes are 10 and eosinophils are 9, we have a virus and we have either food allergies or parasites. This is where we're talking about the co-infections. Co-infections are popular. They're going to exist together often. So you might have to treat both in that case, Rochelle. And I would do the virus first. So do Vivi, get their vitamin D, get their immune system protected, make sure they have their support agents like vitamin or iron and Mors, and then go into the parasites. I don't like to just jump into parasites. Learned the hard way many times. People's bodies are not prepared for it. What if they have all four? This is one of the reasons why I love the VRMs from Systemic Formulas, because the VRMs are multifaceted. You can do the 2-month protocol for the VRMs and tackle the bacterial, the fungal, and the viral. One of the reasons why I haven't jumped ship and gotten on to cell core stuff, because I love the VRMs multifaceted component. Cool. All right. Any other questions before we jump into the most important pattern in the CBC? We've done, what if someone was done with 1 month of VRMs and then stop? Based on how they feel, Beth, I don't think any stop and harming, but because parasites are so good at replicating and surviving, I always have people do the 2-month process. Unless, they're 15 years old and really don't need 4 months. Chronic hive client, they are frustrated with the process, and it's okay. Tell them the parasite stuff, this might suck. Chronic hives. Yeah, that's my dad has that too. Yeah. If they feel like stopping and they like want to quit and jump off your ship, probably have them do like a gut replenish or something. Just get them switched on to something else. Get them, if you guys are struggling with a patient, they're feeling really hard, get them a win and get them a win fast. Even if it's like, hey, we're going to just jack up your vitamin D and give you them an immunobiome kit. Like, we're just going to support the immune system here. Do the viral, bacterial, and then replenish. Yeah. Maybe jump into just some supportive agents. Remind them that their body needs this stuff in order to go through the hard stuff. Moore's vitamin D, iron, immunobiome kit, love that stuff for the immune system support. Minerals, MIN for minerals. What else here? Maybe even some lymph stuff. Sometimes I'll even throw people like the lymph active link just to micro formulas. I don't bother ordering them one supplement for them. I'll just say, hey, look, just go buy this yourself. Okay, and I did put a guy on UC today. He texted me today. He just got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I just put him on the foundational protocol from CellCore to start working on that gut stuff in a big way. So, okay, all right. Have them take a 4-week break. That's a great idea, Connie. Just have them take a break and get them back into it. Dr. Steven, there's a Paraclear coming out. What's your thoughts when it arrives? I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. But I do know Shane's very brilliant at all this stuff. So I trust Shane. I love what he's doing over there. All right. Get in the chat box. Did you learn something new within the last 25 minutes of that CBC? Just say yes or no. Did I surprise you with anything? Did I teach you anything? Yes, 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 yes. Do you feel like because of how simple it was, you could now take that and teach it to someone else tomorrow? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, here's some idea of some social media posts for you. Here's some ideas to start talking about this, okay? Is your fibromyalgia caused by a bacterial infection? Go grab your labs. If you see this marker, neutrophils, and it's above 60%, your bacterial infection is causing your insomnia, your pain, and your fatigue. The 3 things for fibromyalgia. Okay. Yeah, Jackie, we're gonna get to the low levels in just a minute. Here's another idea. We already talked about thyroid. The number 1 cause of autoimmune disease, the trigger, is a virus. Did it trigger yours? Go grab your labs. Look for this marker called lymphocytes. If it's above 30%, your body's fighting a virus, and chances are it triggered your immune system to start attacking your thyroid or your nervous system or your pancreas or like whatever it is, right? Because when you say these numbers, then the comments come, and the comments feed the algorithm. Oh my gosh, my number is 32%, my number is 26%, my number is 44%. You'll get it a lot. And then they'll be like, wait, can you teach me more? Can you read my labs for me? Yeah, sure, it's $495. Virtual patient right there. Okay. All right. So glad you guys are learning so much stuff. I'm telling you, more than just lab work comes out of my mouth because I want you guys to be successful. People need this. They are begging for it. Okay. So notice here we have a couple patterns we're going to talk about within this 5-marker scenario, which is why this is a 90-minute workshop. Neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Okay. The magic number is 60, 30, 7, 3, and 1. Now, because of the decimal points, it's not perfect, but every single one is going to add up to 100%. Every single CBC with differential will always add up to 100%. So say you get a CBC, what sometimes this happens, I don't understand why it does, but it does, that you only have like those 3 markers. They don't give you the other 2 markers. Add them up and see if the other 2 markers could be a problem. I've had a few instances where they've only given me the top 3 markers, and they've left off the E and the B, but I added the 3 markers up and it was 100%. So I just knew that the eosinophils and the basophils were at 0, which is totally fine. Okay. So Jacqueline, answering your question, if we're worried about something low, typically no, because if something is really low, something else has to counteract that and be really high, because it always adds up to 100%. So say we have a lymphocyte count of 14. We have a neutrophil count of 72, and we have a monocyte count of 10. Now, let's do the math here, make sure I'm not lying to y'all. 72 plus 14 plus 10 is 96. So then we're going to have a 3 and a 1 left. Do I care about that number? No, because I care about this one and this one more. So even though I do have a virus count, and I do have a bacterial infection count, despite this one being low, it's okay. I'm going to treat these 2. And that combination right there, the virus, the bacterial, and the fungal, that is like the triple combination threat. 3 out of 4 times, it's the 3 that you're going to treat. So Bactrex, Fundix, Vivi, with some supportive agents, with some immune boosters. So don't care about the low numbers unless it's this pattern, okay? Okay, neutrophils, lymphocytes. We want neutrophils to be at 60%. We want lymphocytes to be at 30%. That is a 2-to-1 ratio. What if we see neutrophil count at 44%, a lymphocyte count at 42%? The closer they are to meeting in the middle, we're going to note that's a 1-to-1 ratio, which means we're dealing with autoimmune. This is why I call this lab test the lab test worth the price of gold. Somebody has some crazy crap going on. Nobody can figure out what the heck's wrong with them. Their immune system is just going haywire, and it's attacking a lot of things. What can I call it? I can't call it anything. I can't say it's RA or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or whatever else they want to throw in that vocabulary. But just know that we're going to calm the immune system down. We're going to remove the triggers. And by removing the trigger, because the 42% is so high, most likely it's being triggered by a virus. But that virus is also hiding the bacterial and the fungal infection. Because again, it's the numbers. If one number is super high, something else has to counteract it. So this same individual who has a 1-to-1 ratio on a test from a year ago, you might have taken a test on them last month and now it's gone. Now it's 58% and 34%. Does that make sense? Okay. Do a social media post on that. Dare you to find out what happens. You guys are going to be having people coming in flooding to your practice, especially when we go virtual here. And I'll tell you, I've had people from all over the world. I've had several from Australia, several from Europe, several from Canada. I now refer out. So I know several people who are in Europe and Australia and Canada. I'll say, go to someone near you, especially in Aussie land. Yep. Neutrophils at 45, lymphocytes at 35, and has Hashimoto's. Bingo. This is also something where you can take that thyroid patient who comes in, they're like, oh, I have thyroid problem. I know it's my thyroid. And you're like, okay, great. I bet it is. But I bet it's because something's attacking your thyroid. So let's just bring in all of your blood work with you. And then you can take that thyroid patient that thinks they just want a quick fix and realize, holy crap, there's more to it. Okay. Tina, so we can't get rid of the viruses. We want to make them dormant. We don't want to have them active. The more active they are, the suckier people feel. So when you think about viruses, think about, when you hear commercials and they're always about autoimmune diseases and the flares, the MS flares. What the heck causes an MS flare? Or the ulcerative colitis flare? These viruses. That's what they're doing. Or the infections. They're becoming more active during that flare stage. Now the pharmaceutical industry is just given some pill to supposedly help it. What do you say exactly to your patients about their autoimmune concerns? So I will list autoimmune on there, okay? Because I want people to see, I want them to see that word. Whew, that's a big word. No matter what I show you in these labs today, I can help you with. So just because you see it now doesn't mean it's yours forever. But autoimmune just tells me, and I'll tell them this, autoimmune just tells me that your immune system, it's doing a lot of work. And it's not keeping up with what you're asking it to do. We need to help it out. We need to remove the triggers that are impacting the immune system, that are also causing the inflammation. Then once we remove those triggers, now we can go in and 1, remove the trigger. 2, calm the immune system down with high-dose vitamin D, immunobiome, all these immune system support agents. And then 3, rebuild the gut, because 80% of the immune system is the gut. Boom. Now you have a 6-month, a 12-month patient who's all in because they know that this is going to be a step-by-step process. And if they have a skeptical husband, it's beautiful because it's all right there in the numbers. No matter how many thousands of dollars they spent on the dang thyroid, trying to get the wife to be the normal again, you have a few more components to it. Okay. So Tina, it's about keeping the viruses dormant, the infections dormant. And I will also tell you, Clinical Pearl, when you're having, we talked about this yesterday in my 90-day program group call, serious SIBO scenarios like ulcerative colitis, you got the chronic diarrhea patient, the chronic constipation patient, they might not ever, or in the near future, I should say, graduate to a probiotic or a prebiotic. Their what I call sweet spot is going to be on Bactrex, on FungDX, on Bind, and they're going to be on that for 6, 8, 10 months. but that's just their sweet spot where their body does really well. How do I know how many units in a dropper of vitamin D3? Okay, in the vitamin D3 dropper, it's 3,000 IUs per dropper full. So that's going to take like 8 full droppers to get up to 24,000 IUs of vitamin D per day. The capsules are like 4,300 IUs per capsule. So then it's like 6 capsules a day. Vitamin D tastes like orange cream soda. And thanks, Connie. Have a great busy schedule from your labs. Yeah, my kids love it. Every time they're like, I've caught Easton a few times, who's 5, with the vitamin D out of the fridge in his hands. Mom, I just need my supplements. Okay, bud, but just don't take the whole bottle. They like it. Okay, so there's what we do about the low levels. Remember, combinations are the most popular things. And then co-infections, like I said, the combinations, and then the 1-to-1 ratio. So we have the basic standard outline. We have that 1-to-1 ratio pattern. We have the co-infections. Boom. That's the CBC in a nutshell. Who just loves how much information you can get from one lab test that everybody has already? Just say yes in the comments. Amazing. Yes, Heather. One lab test. And not only the answers that patients can get, but I just gave you like 10 social media examples that you can use. And if you're like, I just want to see this, how she's done it in social media, go to my TikTok page. It's like all I've done on TikTok, and just the same lab concepts. I've tried to figure out multiple ways to come at them because I do so well. Based on reading these, do you go for further testing? It's totally up to you, Jacqueline. I don't on most occasions because 1, it's just more money, and 2, it's more time before we can get into a treatment plan. So I will most likely stick from the blood work they already have, and very rarely do I need them to get more blood work. And then we jump straight into the healing protocol. Thoughts on a homocysteine test? That one's a homocysteine marker that's like from regular blood work. That's gonna be the inflammation marker, another way to determine inflammation. So I would prefer HSCRP over homocysteine, but the two of them can go well together. Stacy, thoughts on MTHFR? It's a gene, just one gene. I prefer my B vitamin methylators over claiming an MTHFR problem. In my personal opinion, I think MTHFR is the fibromyalgia of 10 years ago. It's given out like candy. And said, oh, well, you have this because you have an MTHFR gene mutation. So what? Give Moors and they will love you forever. MORS. Okay. All right, guys, take a big deep breath because that was a lot of information in like the last 40 minutes. We covered the CBC, the red blood cell counts and everything with them. We covered iron, B vitamins, all the infections, multiple gold inside that CBC. What if you learned the thyroid panel, the iron panel, the hormones panel, the metabolic panel, the lipid panel? Tell me in the chat box if you think that would help you and your patients. If you learned all of the blood work. Absolutely, yes. Yes, without a doubt. Absolutely, yes, yes, yes. Okay, I have an opportunity for you. Not only am I going to teach you the blood work, all of it, I would love to teach you how to scale your practice virtually because COVID opened up doors to the world. Now, shoot me in the chat box here what your background is. Are you a chiropractor? Are you a massage therapist? Are you a naturopath? Are you, okay, Stacy's chiro. I'm Stacy, Dr. Stephen, chiro. Are you guys brick and mortar only? Have you jumped into virtual at all? Heather's naturopath, Jacqueline, health coach, nutritionist, no virtual. Dr. Stephen wants to. Stephanie is nutritionist. Okay, you nutritionist, health coaches, add this to your regimen. Functional nutrition, functional medicine. Yes, hybrid in-person and online. Anybody can read the blood work like this. So imagine if you're now the nutritionist who specializes in blood work interpretation. Now you've got that extra tool in your toolbox to not just talk about someone's food like 9 trillion other people are doing, but now you're like, hey, go grab your blood work from your doctor and let's cover that too. Well, not only are you getting better results, but now you're going to get more patients by referrals. And you can work on the beach if you feel like it. I would prefer the mountains, but some of you like the beach too. So this ability will take you from a chiropractic inpatient office. You can work in your chiropractic office for a day and then work virtually for 2 days of the week. And you can scale up your income and not work anymore, or you can even work less and scale up your income. So inside my 90-day program, which begins on August 16th. So in 2 weeks, we're going to begin. I'm going to teach you all of the blood work. I'm going to teach you how to take your current practice and build a virtual component to it, or go virtual altogether and scale it up. And most importantly, I'm going to teach you how to incorporate a business model that goes around your lifestyle, not the other way around. So if you want to travel the world and work 2 days a week, let's build a business around it. If you want to be a mama like myself, I work 3 days a week. I'm with my kids the other 4 days a week. We can build a business around it. And the blood work is the bottom, it's the key tool to allow you to do that. Now, instead of charging $60 for a massage or a health coaching consultation, you're charging $500 for a consultation. You're creating $3,000 programs that people can do from anywhere in the world for the next 6 months with you. Who's interested? Shoot in the chat box if you're interested in it. Stacy says, me. Sam says, yes. Heather says, me. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Melissa says, yes. All right. Now, with all of that virtual stuff and the tools you need, I believe one of the most important aspects to being a successful businesswoman and businessman is what goes on between your ears. So part of this piece of inside the 90-day program, not only are you going to learn the blood work, not only are you going to have all the tools you need to go virtual and to scale it and to do it now, you got to make the money now, but we're going to upgrade the mindset so that when you ask that patient for a $4,500 program, when you ask this stranger on social media and you tell them it's $495 for a lab consult, you are super strong in that ask because they can see right through it if you're not. So we do a lot of mindset work and we do a lot of money mindset work inside of it. Margaret, are you able to come join us? Claudia says, yes, I need that. It's big on me. I love the mindset stuff because it's helped me go from, I used to be terrified to ask for $200 for supplements. And now it's like, $6,500, here we go, or $10K, here we go. But it's all because I know my worth and I know who I am. I know the offers I'm giving. So we're going to pack this 90 days full of everything that you need. Okay. Hearing you say $500 freaks me out. See? Claudia, or Jacqueline, you're going to make $500 an hour. And better yet, you're going to host groups where it doesn't matter how many people you have in that group. You can make $10,000 for the 1 hour in a group call, or you can make $100 for it. Like, it doesn't matter. So there's so many opportunities out there. We just got to go get them. And people are begging for this blood work stuff. So August 16th is the day that the next round of the 90-day program ends. Okay. Or sorry, begins. So right now, starting this moment, opportunity awaits. Doors are open. You're going to want to go to drkylieburton.com/90-day-program. Okay, so I just put that in the chat box. Go there, come join us. Margaret, would you mind telling us a few words about how the experience has been for you?
Sure. Sorry I couldn't come on, Kylie. I'm having computer problems.
But you look great now.
Okay, well, I'm on my phone, so it's not quite the same.
Oh, it works perfect for us.
I've told you before, but I'm sure there are people here who haven't heard this. I came into this program feeling like there really wasn't anything that you could teach me, because I had 35 years of experience in the diagnostic sciences and was part of establishing normal ranges and doing the lab work and running the tests. And a lot of the information I already knew. And I thought, well, I'll come into this free workshop and see if she teaches me anything I didn't know. And I already knew about the functional ranges because I had a nutritional business on the side, even though I was working in the labs. But I didn't know about the correlations between 2-to-1 ratios and 1-to-1 ratios. And as I was hearing you talk about it, it was like light bulbs were going on in my head, because even though I worked in the lab, I was always trying to help people solve, in the background, I always had the wheels turning in my head that there's more to this than we're seeing. There's more to, excuse me,
You're fine.
guys. And so when I heard that, I knew that there was so much more to what you were teaching us than even the experts in the lab field knew. I always knew that our normal ranges were based on a false sense of normalcy, because in a disease maintenance system, which is what we have, not a healthcare system, their normal ranges are to prevent disease. They're not to optimize health. And so it makes such a huge difference. Do you want to take vitamin D to prevent an overt disease? Or do you, like the signs of a deficiency that you would expect to see? Or do you want to prevent osteoporosis down the road, that by the time you know that you have it, you can take all the vitamin D that you want and you'll never be able to find your way back to strong, healthy bones? So we're looking at giving waking up our clients and customers natural ability to heal. And I have never learned more in targeting our being able to do that than from you. And they have the information, the evidence right in front of them. It's not a feeling. It's not a, gee, is this in my head or is this really happening? You can see the evidence. And the other thing, which I also said during our podcast, is that the reality is that when you go to a doctor and they're trying to fix something, they only look at where it's happening. And where, like, my favorite one that I talk about is the dry eye. And I had a client that had dry eye because of a stressed spleen, and another client because of stressed adrenals, because their body was just capturing fluid wherever it could. And so the labs tell us where your body is working really hard to compensate for a stressor. When even looking at your clients or patients, you're not going to get the information that you get from the labs. And you're not optimizing their health by looking at the customary normal ranges.
Yeah.
So
how are the group calls within the 90-day program?
Well, the other thing is that you teach the practitioners exactly, like for me, I get technical. I'm too sciencey. So for me, I end up talking over people's heads and not realizing that I'm talking over their heads. And so you've helped me be able to simplify the way that I talk about what we do, and also to look at our mindset about, we may not even realize as practitioners that anything is holding us back in terms of limiting beliefs, in terms of what we believe about ourselves, what we're worth, well, are we really smart? Do we have enough letters after our name? And so you address more than just the lab tests in your programs. You address helping us become fully rounded and confident practitioners.
Yeah, because the more successful everybody is, the more people are getting healthy. And that's what we ultimately all want.
Yep.
And then, guys, the more I dive into the money, especially the money mindset, we are all helpers by nature. We want to help people. What if we had more resources financially to help people in that direction? Like giving a scholarship to someone who in need, like being a secret Santa at Christmas time. You got to have the resources to do that, to help more people. So not only can you help them from your health standpoint, but now you can help them in their financial and other endeavors as well. So I believe good people need more money because we can do so many good things with it. So I'm going to give you the tools, the business structure, to not only have more income, more freedom, but more impact as well. So Margaret's been in my 90-day program for like the last few months here. And we do group calls where you have community, where you have support, not just patient scenarios, but like mindset. If you have mindset questions, business questions, marketing questions, we have a community right there available for you to help you go to this virtual world where the doors are open. Okay, we got 10 more minutes left. I am yours to answer any questions you have. If you want to shoot a question or in the chat box, feel free. If you are wanting to pop in and ask me a question, feel free to. And I will see you guys again on August 16th on that group call. So, Dr. Steven, I'm not going to get in the DNA testing because I know next to nothing about it. Here's the thing, guys. You're going to hear a lot of different options. And I've paid for so many mentors. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly, how many things I paid for to get where I am today. But this one mentor said to me, become the specialist in one or two things. Don't branch out and try to be the best at everything. You're going to be the jack of all trades. Nobody wants that person. You want to be the specialist in something, okay? I will never be the specialist in DNA. It's not my jam. If someone wants DNA specialists, I'm going to send them to Christy Sutton. That's her jam. My jam is blood work. People know I am all about blood work. So they know I just got blood work. My doctor told me it's normal, but I know it's not. Please read it for me. Those are the people I get. So Dr. Steven, just be careful, and everybody else listening, be careful about all the stuff out there that's available. Don't be the jack of all trades. Be the specialist and become dang good at that. So I don't ever do DNA. I don't never will. It's not my jam. I don't like systemic formulas right now because their report's like 100 pages long. Who the heck knows what to do with 100 pages of a report, of DNA especially? So, okay. Yes. All right. Just to reiterate, to join the 90-day program, as soon as you guys join, you unlock the entire portal. So if you want to get started on learning all the blood work tomorrow, you can. It is all in there. Everything I've done previously has been recorded and available to you. So you have it all inside the portal. You can access it all right here at the 90-day program link. You just pick the route you want to choose. You're in on the group calls. You have access to the portal. You have access to me in the emails. Like, I am yours to help you be so successful and to thrive, not only in the next 90 days, but in the next 9 years and beyond. Because what you're doing is you're creating a business model that is indestructible. No matter what the world throws at us, you will have a successful business because you've set up the model for it and you have the tools in your toolkit for it. So if there's a recession coming in, who cares? You're recession proof. If another COVID-19 happens, who cares? You're COVID-19 proof. Okay. That's the cool part about what COVID did for us, is it opened up doors to the world. And people, like I said, keep begging and begging and begging for the blood work to be done. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, this is part of the 90-day program too. I don't know how I forgot. What if my leads became your patients? What if I did marketing for you? Would that be worth it? What if I was like, oh, somebody in Israel is looking for, on TikTok, is looking for a blood work specialist. Okay, go see Jacqueline. Or even someone in Utah, go see Jacqueline. You can do that. My leads are becoming your patients inside the 90-day program because I no longer work with patients. I help train the practitioners. Okay. So that's also a sweet thing happening inside the 90-day program, because it just keeps getting better and better and better as we run it. That's been awesome. Okay, now remember, I've done this many times before. I have swiped my credit card many times knowing that the money's going to come because I'm investing in this knowledge and this expertise and this mindset work and this help, that it will come. So if you need to do that, swipe the card. I have a maxed out card right now that's at $55,000. Swipe the card, know the money will come. I guarantee you it will, okay? All right. And you can get inside at the 90-day program link. The referral list, Margaret, email me. We're having to redo some of it, actually a fair amount of it, because it's not working like we want it to. So we do have a referral list coming up when people get to my website and they want me to read their labs. It says right there now, I don't read labs. You can go work with one of my practitioners. And that's one of the avenues on how I do your marketing for you. The other one is if you're ever hosting a workshop, which I am a big fan of, then I will share that workshop for you. So my leads, my email list can become your patients, and it's pretty cool because it's like 3,500 big and it's just keep growing. Okay. Currently, right now, the price of the program is $6,500. I can't guarantee that forever in the future because we just keep making it grander and grander and grander. And with that program, you also get all of the Master Blood Work Live events within that 90 days, which are $1,200 a piece. So $6,500 or 3 payments of $2,333, I believe it is. But all the details are right there on that 90-day program link. And that's where you would join as well. So I hope I see a lot of you guys in the couple of weeks, because I cannot tell you how stellar the group calls are. The Facebook group is like, it's such a grand community to be in. Dr. Stephen, once we're in the program, you have an option to be always in the program afterwards, but you got to make sure that's right for you first. Okay. All right.
Don't forget, this is your last chance to come join me inside the 90-day program this year. Get all the details and join at drkylieburton.com/90-day-program. You've heard all the stories. You've heard me talking about it for months now. Let's make you the next story. What can happen in your life, in your business, and with your bank account within 90 days? I'm here to help. So is systemic formulas. If you're not using them in your practice, you should be. Come join their private Facebook group for practitioners at Systemic Formulas Clinical Nutrition. Everybody else, join them on Instagram at Systemic Formulas. All right, I'll see you October 4th on the first group call of the last round of the 90-day program this year.